We have Mr. Yuta Lee here.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so my company's called Accelerated Biosciences, and we have a stem cell platform called a human trophoblast stem cell, which is the earliest cells you could possibly get without any ethical issues. And we actually sourced them from an ectopic pregnancy. And these cells have pretty interesting characteristics. You can grow them out to 85 population doublings. That's enough cells to create 2 trillion human beings. So
Wow.
scale is solved. And it has natural immune privilege because they're preplacental tissue, so they express HLA-G. And that's the marker that really dampens down the mother's immune system so the embryo can stay attached and grow as a baby. Right?
Wow, okay.
So we're one of the only cell platforms that has scale and immune privilege.
Okay. And how did you come into working on this?
My father discovered it in 2003. So he's
Oh, fantastic.
yeah,
Family business.
Family business. So he's an MD PhD. He got his MD from Tohoku University in Sendai, Japan, and his PhD at St. Bart's University, London.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you just followed in the footsteps and
yeah.
Okay.
So in 2003, he discovered it, and 2 years later, he came to me and said, "Yuta, you're the business guy. Do something with this." Yeah.
Okay.
So jumped in, and it's been over 20 years now. So we've been developing it and commercializing it. And
Okay.
yeah, we're at the point where we're about to put it out in the world. So
Wow. And how did you hear about RadFest?
invited by Aubrey de Grey.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
to come as a speaker. And
All right. Is this your first year?
my first year? And I
Okay.
became a sponsor. So
Fantastic.
yeah, it's a great meeting here.
All right, yeah. So you said you're getting ready to like go to market now after 20 years of research? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
it was a lot of research, and we wanted to take the cell all the way to GMP, which is good manufacturing practice, which just means that it's clinical grade. And we're collaborating with about 36 different institutions, research institutions, and companies in various indications. And we're providing the cells as well as the exosomes for them to use. And we're also manufacturing the exosomes to a 5-liter scale to be sold into the beauty and cosmetics markets.
Oh, so you're already market ready. You've gone through all the regulators and all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and you're ready for market.
Yes, for beauty and cosmetics. That's a
For
topical.
yeah,
Yeah,
beauty
but
and
we're
cosmetics.
going
Okay.
into the clinic with a large hospital group here in the U.S., which I can't name yet because we're still negotiating it. But we want to work together to go towards the FDA for chronic fatigue syndrome. So that should be pretty interesting. That's our first indication.
Okay. Have you approached the FDA before, or is this your first preparation?
First time.
Okay.
It's our first time. Yeah.
Are you confident in what you're able to do? Is the beauty and cosmetics aspect of that, is that something you can show that's going to help the FDA say, oh, okay, this is good?
Probably not, only because the beauty and cosmetics is purely topical, and for chronic fatigue syndrome, most likely it will be an IV infusion.
Okay.
Because what happened was, hope you don't mind me telling a story.
Oh, go for it.
So about 2 years ago, right? So the researcher at the National Institute on Aging calls me and says, "Hey, I saw one of your presentations. We hear you're one of the earliest stem cells that you can source without any ethical issues." And I said, "Yeah, we've already manufactured a GMP." And he asked me for all of the condition media, to which I sent it to him. And his idea was, if heterochronic parabiosis works, have you heard about this?
I haven't.
Okay, that's when at Stanford 20 years ago, they stitched 2 mice together one circulatory blood system, one old mouse and one young mouse. And
Oh, I did hear about
yeah,
this. Yes.
Right. So the old mouse is biologically getting younger, and the young mouse is biologically getting older, right? And the second experiment was they did a plasma transfer. Same thing was happening. So what does that mean? That means that the rejuvenation of the old mouse is purely a function of the proteins coming off the blood of the young mouse, right?
Okay.
And so if that works, what would happen if you take the earliest stem cells that you could possibly find, but without ethical issues, otherwise the NIH can't work with it, and you put it towards senescent cells, right? So senescent cells is, I'm sure
The
you've
dead,
interviewed
like zombie cells.
zombie cells
Yeah.
that are putting out a lot of inflammatory messages, right? And so what they wanted to do is see what effects that would have. And what we discovered in the last year is that just by using our secretome from the human trophoblast stem cells, we were able to systemically downregulate all inflammation in vitro and in vivo. And so that's
Impressive.
why we want to use this to go towards chronic fatigue syndrome, because we believe that it probably will alleviate a lot of pain and suffering for these patients.
Well, so while that part is the more interesting part of how it
Right.
can help reduce the inflammation and the aging through the intravenous that
Right.
you're going to be working on once you get the approval,
Yeah.
I've got to ask about the other part of that. How did you find out that like if you put it on the skin, it works as a good beauty product?
Yeah, well, we have clinics that in Asia that we collaborate with that do these trials. So
Okay, so
yeah,
you did
so they
try.
have, of
So you
course.
had the idea of like, hey, maybe we could do beauty and cosmetics first, and so let's see if it works, and did the trials that way. It
Right.
was very
So
calculated.
right. So there are three different parts, right? So the beauty and cosmetics part is more immediate because you're not injecting it or anything, so you don't have to do so much relative to FDA or EMA. So that is the first part. The second part is we have to go through the clinic. Unfortunately, the FDA still has full monopoly over patient access, so we have to go through that, right? And but I think the long-term goal is obviously while we're all here for immortality, right? If you can use it to downregulate all inflammation, we hope that it would we can be able to use it as a preventative measure for disease. So imagine if we can use these exosomes to either slow down, stop, or reverse biological aging. That means if you start using it at 30 as a preventative measure, when you're 100 years old, you still have internal organs of a 30-year-old. That's how you push back disease
Okay.
and live much longer and healthier, right?
So it's the damage control approach that Aubrey talked about
That's
the
right.
other day.
That's right. And,
Okay.
and Brian Kennedy also supports this. He said, hey, why, if you're in a good condition, why wait for something to go wrong and try and save it instead of just prevent it from happening in the first place? Why, when the system is still intact,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to keep it that way.
It's like in the cars, just do your oil change.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but the key to that is that you need, in order to make it a prevention and in order to really democratize it, you need a lot of scale, right? And so our cells being able to grow out to 85 population doubling, that is a lot of scale. I mean, that's E to 25 cells. That's enough to grow 2 trillion human beings.
Whoa.
You literally cannot buy enough culture media to grow that many cells.
Wow.
Right? So scale is already solved. And because our cells are from a pre-placental source, they express HLA-G, right? And HLA-G is the marker that allows the embryo to stay attached to the mother. It dampens out a mother's immune system. So it's natural immune privilege. And so I think, between those two factors, we're able to really industrialize the culture of these exosomes
Okay.
to the scale where everybody can use it, right?
All right. So you seem very confident in your approach to the FDA and your preparation for it beforehand here, but I've got to ask anyways, what challenges, if there are any, are you running into that's maybe slowing down the progress that you've already made or could be making?
That's a really great question. That's always the big issue, right? Timing.
Yeah.
So for us to go through that whole system probably take us, 5 to 8 years. And, I don't think a lot of patients want to wait that long.
Yeah.
Right. So this is why I think you guys are doing a great thing here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely think we could be helpful to you, and we'd be happy to have you along with us because you were at my talk earlier.
That's
so
right.
I'm just going to say things again for the sake of viewers here.
Of course.
But we want to create the environment for people like you to come in and receive fast track approval
That's right.
from things like the FDA,
Right.
and get priority access through that. So instead of you by yourself, like, prepare this whole thing for the FDA, and then once they approve it, then 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
Because you'll be within the Immortalis zone,
Right.
they'll look at it and be like, oh, they're an Immortalis, they get the priority.
Sure.
So they're pre-vetted, check, yes, and then boom, 12 to 18 months, you're through.
Right.
And
looking forward to that.
Yes. So that's exactly what we want to do for you. And in doing that too, you haven't mentioned anything about funding. So I don't know if that's a challenge or not, but even if it's not, it could increase a profit margin for you then.
Right.
That for the sake of reducing regulation, that's going to, of course, speed up timeline.
Right.
But that's also because of the sped up timeline, it's going to make going through these trials cheaper. So you won't
That's right.
have to spend as much to get it through. And then that could also pass along to the end consumer and make it more
Absolutely.
accessible and affordable to them.
Absolutely.
So I definitely see this being a good relationship.
Oh,
there.
absolutely. Yeah.
So we answered the next question there
Yeah.
of what is the solution to these challenges.
Yeah.
So with that out of the way, what could you tell the viewers? Two things. One that might be helpful to them, and maybe equally important, what they could do to help you in your endeavors.
I say this all the time in interviews. Just invest in longevity. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you invest in as long as it's longevity related, because I think there are a lot of companies out there, including mine, that need a lot of funding to get these things done, right? And you got to invest in something that you believe in, right? But as long as you invest in longevity. And I think I'm agnostic to what people invest in, because you know what? As long as one of us succeeds, and everybody benefits.
I agree.
Right? Which is incredible. So that really opens up the field.
Okay.
But longevity really lacks a lot of funding. And so we want people to be more aware. We want investors and VCs to really start looking into the sector and put more money in it so that we can really drive forward towards longevity escape velocity.
Okay. So if someone is watching this and heard everything you just said
Yeah.
and is like, I like this guy, this
Yeah.
is where I want to put my money, is there somewhere they could go, a website or some way to contact you to invest in you?
Yes, of course. Just email me, right, at yuta.lee@acceleratedbio.com.
Yuta Lee at acceleratedbio.com.
That's
We'll
right.
put that in a caption so people can
Perfect.
see it.
Appreciate it.
Any final thoughts before we close this out?
No, I really think that you guys are onto something, right? This is a really great plan. If you can find a location to really shortcut a lot of the red tape, that would be a huge plus for patients around the world, in fact, right? And really just set a new standard for how things can be done, right? So
Well,
thank you guys for your efforts.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, Yuta, this is great. Thanks for coming and giving us your time.
Thank you.